Welcome to 10 Minutes Library, your shortcut to the world's best books. In just 10 minutes, we turn powerful ideas into life-changing lessons. Let's grow smarter, fast.
Okay, so what if I told you the secret to a genuinely better life isn't about always chasing more or doing more or even wanting more stuff? What if the real secret was, well, actually to care less? Seriously, I know it sounds completely backwards, doesn't it? But that's exactly the fascinating idea we're digging into today. We're cracking open Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fick. He calls it a brutally honest guide to living better by caring less, but crucially about the wrong things. So our mission for this deep dive is basically to pull out the key nuggets from the book for you, helping you find maybe a different kind of peace, by being way more selective about what gets your energy, what actually matters.
And that's a really crucial point right from the start. This isn't really about apathy, like just not caring about anything at all. It's almost the opposite. The book's really pushing for a very targeted approach. Like, where do you consciously choose to put your mental energy, your emotional energy, which is, let's face it, pretty limited. It's all about the power of what Manson calls strategic indifference. Basically, actively deciding, okay, I'm not giving my time or passion to that, so you can pour it all into what truly counts for you.
Okay, strategic indifference. I like that. So let's dive right in then. Manson hits us pretty much straight away with this idea that it goes against almost everything we hear. He says, don't try. No, how can trying less actually lead to more? I mean, that sounds a bit like just giving up, right?
Yeah, it does sound like that on the surface, yeah. But Manson makes his really insightful point. He says, the desire for a more positive experience is itself a negative experience. Just think about it for a sec. Like, maybe someone, let's call him Ollie, is scrolling Instagram. He sees all the Lamborghinis, the perfect abs, the, amazing startups, and he wants all of it. He really does. But the more he obsesses, the more he wants it, the more, anxious and kind of stuck he feels.
Yeah, but that feedback loop.
Exactly. The core idea there is that this constant, relentless chase for happiness or better life, it sends this subtle message deep down. It tells you, basically, that you're not good enough right now, that you're lacking something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So the really freeing insight is maybe stop trying so damn hard to be this idea of who you think you should be. Just try being honest. Be you. Manson observes that real confidence, true confidence, it doesn't need to shout. It's quiet. It's just there. So it kind of forces you to ask yourself, are you maybe trying too hard to be something you're not?
Yeah.
And is it just, exhausting you?
Oh, I definitely recognize that feeling of always playing catch up. It is exhausting. And that actually leads us right into another one of his ideas that really jumped out at me. Happiness is a problem. I mean, come on, that sounds completely contradictory. Isn't happiness the goal?
It sounds totally contradictory, right? But he clarifies it really well. He says, look, life's problems never actually go away. You just improve your problems.
Mm-hmm.
We often buy into this myth, don't we? That successful people, they're just floating around problem-free in some kind of Zen state.
Yeah, living the dream, no worries.
Right. But if you look closer, even, say, millionaires, they have their own big problems. Maybe it's dealing with haters online or complete burnout or figuring out who their real friends are versus the fake ones. Or think about a YouTuber. They hit 100,000 subs. Awesome. Seems like they made it. But then boom, immediately they're stressing about how to keep that audience, how to grow it more. What's the next big video idea? The pressure just changes shape. So the real breakthrough isn't trying to find a life with zero problems, because let's be real, that's impossible. Instead, the goal should be to chase better problems you actually want to solve, because that is where the real growth happens. It makes you ask, well, what do better problems even look like in your life? What struggles are actually worth it for what you want?
That's a really interesting shift, away from avoidance towards productive struggle, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a harsh truth, though, especially with all the positive thinking stuff out there. And speaking of harsh truths, Manson throws another one at us that can definitely sting a bit. You are not special. Oof, that really cuts against the grain of, what we're often told growing up, the whole unique snowflake thing.
Absolutely. It does sting initially.
Mm-hmm.
The book basically says, look, the world doesn't really care about your potential or how inherently unique you think you are. You aren't just born special. You have to become special through your actions, through what you actually do.
Mm-hmm.
Think about someone who says, oh, I've got this great idea for a business, or I really want to write a book.
Yeah, we all know someone like that.
Right. And they wait for years, literally years, for motivation to just magically appear. But they never start. They're waiting to feel special or motivated or ready before they take action. The lesson Manson hammers home is, you don't get to feel special just by wishing for it. You earn it. You earn that feeling through putting in the work, through consistent effort, through actually doing the thing.
That's a really strong call to action. But okay, what if someone hears you are not special and it just completely deflates them, makes them feel hopeless? How does Manson suggest navigating that initial punch to the ego to actually get to the action part?
Well, he kind of argues that the deflation is almost necessary. It's the first step. It's about letting go of this expectation that the world owes you something just because you exist or because you have potential.
Okay.
Once you drop that weight, that expectation, you're actually freed up. You're free to work for what you want without entitlement. Like accepting a baseline of, yeah, maybe I'm average in the grand scheme of things right now. But from that baseline, you can choose to build something extraordinary through deliberate effort and choice. And when you commit to that effort, it leads us right into another concept that sounds maybe even more challenging at first glance.
Uh-oh, what's next?
Choose your suffering.
Choose suffering. Why on earth would anyone choose that? Okay, now this is getting really interesting.
Yeah, it grabs you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Manson's core idea here is who you are is defined by what you're willing to struggle for. This is super important because everyone wants the reward, right? Everyone wants the fit body, the successful business, the amazing relationship. But, and here's the key, very few people are actually willing to embrace the struggle that gets you there. Like you might want to be really fit, but are you willing to drag yourself out of bed at 6 a.m. when it's freezing cold outside to go work out, day after day?
Probably not always.
Or maybe you dream of launching your own business. Great. But are you truly willing to accept the massive financial risk, the emotional roller coaster, the sleepless nights, the very real chance of failure?
Right, the messy parts.
Exactly. The book stresses that when you consciously choose the pain, the struggle, that's actually worth it to you, the struggle that aligns with your deep values, that's when the struggle itself starts to reveal your purpose. It forces you to get really honest. What kind of pain, what kind of difficulty are you genuinely willing to put up with to achieve your goals?
So it's not just about the goal, but about being willing to embrace the necessary discomfort along the way, acknowledging that the good stuff rarely comes easy.
Okay, and then there's this idea of responsibility. It's always your move. This touches on personal agency, taking control, but also feels like it could be a really heavy weight to carry sometimes.
It can feel heavy. But Manson makes a really vital distinction here. It's often misunderstood. He says, you may not be at fault for your situation, but you are always responsible for how you respond to it. Think about it. You didn't choose the family you were born into. You didn't choose for someone to break up with you. Maybe you didn't choose to get laid off from your job.
Right. Stuff happens to us. Exactly. Those external events. Maybe not your fault at all, but how you react, how you respond, the choices you make after those things happen, that is 100% entirely on you. He gives the example of, say, facing rejection. You have a choice. You can choose to blame everyone else, get stuck in feeling like a victim, or you can choose to learn from it, adapt, maybe build something new or stronger because of it. That choice and what you do next, that's what really shapes your life no matter who or what was technically at fault for the initial problem.
That's actually, that's a very empowering way to look at it. Even if it's challenging, it shifts the power back to you. And it seems like it connects to another one of these uncomfortable truths. You're wrong about everything. Which, let's be honest, is so hard for most of us to admit. Our egos just hate being wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Our egos fight tooth and nail to be right all the time. But as Manson points out, real growth, well, growth is basically being wrong and then learning to be slightly less wrong over time.
Slightly less wrong. I like that. It's achievable.
Exactly. Being wrong isn't some kind of catastrophic failure. It's actually like a critical ingredient for learning and getting better. Think about an investor who makes a bad call, loses some money. If they can step back, admit, okay, I got that wrong, figure out why they were wrong, and learn from that mistake.
Right.
Well, they're much more likely to make a smarter bet next time, right? The key takeaway there is really that humility wins in the long run. You've got to be willing to question yourself, to doubt your own assumptions, your own ego, and be open to changing your mind when new evidence comes along. It's not about reaching some perfect state of rightness. It's a constant process of refining your understanding.
Constant refinement, not perfection.
Got it.
Okay. And the final big idea, which is maybe the most profound and definitely surprising given the book's title, death is your wake-up call. How can thinking about something so final actually be freeing? It sounds more like a reason to give more fruits, not fewer.
It seems like it should be terrifying, right? Yeah. But Manson frames it completely differently. It's not meant to be a scare tactic. It's meant to be a powerful liberator. The simple, inescapable knowledge that you are going to die someday is intended to free you up now. He uses this powerful example. Think about how people often react after losing someone close to them.
Yeah.
Suddenly, all the small, petty stuff they used to worry about just evaporates. Doesn't matter anymore. They gain this incredible sense of perspective because they get a visceral hit of how short and precious life really is.
That makes sense.
So the lesson emerging from contemplating death isn't fear, it's clarity. Encourages you to say no more often. No to the things that don't align with your values. No to obligations you resent. No to trying to please everyone. It pushes you to actually live your own life authentically, rather than constantly performing for others or living according to someone else's script. When you really internalize your own mortality, Manson argues, the fear of other people's judgment just tends to shrink dramatically.
Wow,
Wow.
that's deep. Shifting perspective from fear to clarity. So these are all pretty big, potentially life-shifting ideas. But the book doesn't just leave them as abstract concepts, right? It grounds them with some real-world examples. Let's touch on those 3 real-life lessons in not giving a feck quickly.
Yeah, exactly. They help make it concrete. So first, there's the story of the student. Basically, someone who felt immense pressure, probably from family, maybe society, to go into medicine, safe, prestigious path. But their real passion was filmmaking. And they made the incredibly tough choice to pursue that, despite all the judgment. And in doing so, they found real peace and purpose. They chose their own meaning. Then there's the creator, maybe like that YouTuber we talked about earlier, someone who got caught up chasing views, likes, going viral, following trends, and just got totally burnt out and miserable. Eventually, they decided, screw the metrics. They stopped caring so much about external validation and started making content that felt true and authentic to them. And ironically, that often leads to more genuine satisfaction, and sometimes even a more loyal, engaged audience anyway.
Right.
And finally, there's the simple life guy. Someone who consciously opted out of the typical race, didn't chase the fancy corporate ladder, the expensive car, the big house. Instead, they chose a life aligned with simpler values, maybe focusing more on experiences, relationships, or freedom over material possessions. And by doing that, by not giving a feck about those conventional markers of success, they lived arguably much more mentally free, unburdened by those societal pressures.
Yeah, and what really strikes me about all 3 of those stories is how they perfectly loop back to that core theme we started with. These individuals basically stopped giving their energy, their frex, to fake success, the kind defined by others, by society. And instead, they started caring really, really deeply about finding and living out real, authentic meaning in their own lives. They chose their frex wisely, like you said. So, after exploring all these counterintuitive ideas, what does this all actually mean for you listening right now? Mark Manson's central message seems to boil down to something pretty simple yet profound. You only have so much energy. You only have so many hours in the day. And let's be honest, you only have so much mental and emotional bandwidth. You just can't care about everything equally. It's impossible.
Precisely. And as he puts it so bluntly, but effectively, you only have so many flicks to give. Choose them wisely. So the action points that come out of this are actually quite clear, and they're kind of 2 sides of the same coin. First, you need to actively, consciously stop giving your precious attention, your flicks, to the things that ultimately don't serve your core values. Things that drain you, things that are just trivial, things that are outside your control, or things that are simply not worth your limited emotional investment. And then the flip side is just as important. You need to start caring, like really, truly caring and investing your energy into what actually matters to you. Your values, your relationships, your chosen struggles. That's where genuine fulfillment is found.
That's a really powerful takeaway. Stop caring about the noise. Start caring about the signal. Choose your battles. Choose your fricks. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening to mull over. Based on everything we've dug into today, from the subtle art of not giving a fick, what is maybe just one thing you can start caring a little bit less about starting today? Just one thing. To free up some space, some energy for what truly deeply matters to you.